Welcome to MedhasBridge. We train and learn. We shall continue our C++ learning. Let's get started. In today's agenda, we will explore concept of constants, variables, and reference variables. While writing a program, we must heard that the widely used terms constants and variables. Then the question would be, what is meant by constant and what is meant by variable? By definition, a constant is a fixed value that remains unchanged throughout a problem context. Let me rephrase. It is a variable or the value that cannot be changed once defined during the execution of the program. For example, pi value pi equal to 3.14. Once we define this, I will reuse this value across my program, but I am not attempt to change the value of the variable. This we can do in two ways. Example 1. Use a macro as defined pi 3.14. So across the program, I can use pi as a replacer. The second method would be you can declare the variable and initialize the variable during the declaration stage by itself. What is more we have to do, define that variable as a constant. The constant int my constant variable equal to 100. I declare the variable of some data type and assign the value to it and marking as a constant. Constant here meaning read only. The value cannot be modified after I initialized it. Right? This is what the concept of constants. Now let's look at variables. A variable is a placeholder, a memory placeholder that can take a different values during the program execution. Let me reiterate. Variable name is associated with some memory location to hold a data. The data can be changed during execution of the program. For example, I define a memory location, name my variable and assign 100. During the program execution, I may need to modify this variable value. For example, int my variable is equal to 100. Later, I might reassign a new value to it. This is very possible. These two cases, in constants where I don't want to change the value and hence I am using constants, and the other case I may need a change, right, to during the execution of my program. Means like I can modify the value that is being set previously, right? The answer would be the variable. So constants and variables are most frequently used concepts within our program development. Can you look at this program closely? I am trying to calculate the area of the circle. We all know that, right? Pi r square. Pi into radius. We know that a pi value is a constant, isn't it? I can hardcode the value like a 3.14 into radius. Radius would be the variable which I am giving as an input. For now, I am taking as an example as an 2.1. Next thing, I compute the area and then I am displaying the calculated value on the console. Second thing, I am also trying to display value of the pi. Closely notice one point here. I am using pi in this program and then occurrence of pi twice I see in my program. If I wouldn't have that this constant replacement concept, probably I would end up using hard-coded value in my program across. right? The best benefit would be define at one place and use everywhere. Let me reiterate. Preprocessor commands that begins with a pound hash symbol is known as a directives. We know that, right? Hash define a C++ preprocessor command or directive. A semicolon is not required at the end of the statement. Do you see that? Only it begins with hash. The C++ preprocessor is a program that is executed before the source code is compiled. We discussed in the last sessions. Every time the preprocessor sees the PI, it will be replaced with value 3.14. The preprocessor takes care of replacing the values in the program, which is done during the preprocessing time, meaning prior to the compilation. Isn't it a nice feature that you can use it? This approach would help us to define at one place and reuse as many times as you need it. Variables. A variable is a named data item whose value can change during the course of program execution. Look at this program. I have the variable declared at a line number 7. My int var. What is the type of variable? Integer variable. When you say this, it does mean this variable can hold integer type of values. So 10 is my integer value. I initialize it to my variable. During the course of the program, I may need to update the value in the variable. Let's say, for instance, at line number 15, I am reinitializing this value with a different value than previous. This will allow me to do that because my intent is served using concept called variables. Look at now. Initially, when I declared, I have nothing. I cannot give a guarantee whether the value inside is like either 0 or some garbage. When I initialized at first time, right, at line number 8, what value you can see? 10. So the value stored in this variable is 10. At line number 15, I reinitialized it with 200. I could see now 200. Isn't it right? One point to be remembered. C++ uses camel case as a practice for writing names of methods, variables, classes, packages, and constants. Camel case is a naming convention where a name is formed of multiple words that are joined together as a single word, with the first letter of each word is capitalized. We can look at more in detail, but for now, let's take a note of it. In our software programs, we may use more than one variable of different type or the same type in the program, isn't it? Right? Then the question would be, how do I define them? There is no real ambiguity in it. The way you define one variable would be similar to defining another variable. For instance, I created a variable, meaning I declared the variable my int var1 as of type int. Now I declare the second variable of type int. You may have different data types too. I initialized with the value that would like to have in my variable. I print them. Isn't it right? So similarly, you can also declare as many as variables your program needs. It is allowed, and this is needed too. Like a C language, in C++, we have a concept of using variables as a constants. I'm reiterating, we can use variables as a constants. Variables meaning the variable whose value can be changed or modified during the program execution. That's what we studied now, right? But what we are redefining the definition of constant is the variable whose value cannot be changed or modified during the execution of the program. What we have to do, we have to use keyword called constant for the variable when you want to requalify the variable as a constant. Constant variables should be initialized at time of declaration. This is very important. You cannot assign a value later stage if the variable is defined as a constant, because constants are the read only. It is allow you to do that job at first to go, meaning during the declaration you have to initialize, as simple as. It won't allow you to reassign the value once after initialization done. The constant declaration creates a immutable reference to the values. It does not mean the value it holds is immutable, just that the variable identifier cannot be reassigned. Do you get it? Constant variables are read only. A constant is a named data item with predefined value. These are the ways that I can understand the meaning of a constant when using a variables. In your program, if you see, I have a variable called a pi of type 3.1428. Right? When you look at this one, this is a float value. So my variable name should be declared as a data type float, and I defined as a constant. So what that is mean? During the declaration, I initialize the value, mark it as a constant. That's it. So throughout my program, I can refer this pi value, but it is not allow me to modify the value to it. That is intent of using variables as a constants. Constant variables are read-only. When you do not want others to change existing variable values, then use constants. That's an application of constants for the variables. What I was trying to do here, I defined a variable as a constant with some default initialized value. I attempt to modify the value later stage, and when I try compile the program, the compiler throws an error stating that assignment of read-only variable pi is not allowed. Right? This is what is given. So it is evidencing that the constant variables cannot be modified. This is a very good example, simple example too. Now that we see concept of constants and variables, C++ introduced a new kind of variable is known as a reference variable. What is mean by reference variable? A reference variable provides alias for previously defined variable, like giving an alternative name to the variable which you created previously. Let me tell you. Let's say I have the memory location, and then I named this location as a myIntVar1, which has some address. If you look at the program, I declare this as a integer type. What that means? I can store integer values into this variable. Other way, the integer variable holds integer values. That's good. I wanted to create one more variable, but I don't want to be using as a separate memory location. I need a second variable to refer the same memory location. Let's say, is it really possible? Yes, in C++ as an answer for it, you can create n number of references to the variable which you created previously. We call them alias, a alternative name given to the existing variable. This is another important concept in C++. So we have seen constants, we have seen variables, we have seen variables as a constants, and then reference variables. All right.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, click on the bell icon, and please leave the comment. Happy learning. Thank you. Stay tuned to the upcoming sessions.